Somebody pick.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. It's 4 p.m., 5 after by the authorities' watch. And we have letters of communications to the board.
There are none.
None. Election of officers, nominating committee, Mary?
The nominating committee has met, and we would report the following officers: Frederick Carter for chairperson, Roger Bath for vice chairperson, James Pugh for secretary, Connie Ogdensburg for treasurer, assistant treasurer William Nelson, assistant secretary William Nelson, assistant treasurer Donald Hooper, member Mary Farley, and appointment of the staff, executive director Wade Davis. Is there any nominations?
Is there any nominations from the floor?
Then I would ask the secretary to cast one.
I would do that. We'll have one ballot cast. You're going to cast the ballot?
Yeah.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Member nominee.
Executive directors, lost my spot here. The council, newspaper. We have to approve the newspaper. At first, I have to approve our attorney. We have a motion to approve our attorney.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Can we discuss that?
Well, I'm going to get the second in there first.
That's good. I noticed what rates you get charged by these other guys. Now, wait a minute. It's free. Can't we wait and do it at the end of the meeting?
Seconded by Mary.
I did.
Connie. All in favor?
Aye.
Newspaper, Watertown Times. Oh, excuse me. Ogdensburg Herald in the Advanced News.
Frederick Carter.
I'll make that motion.
I don't think this will be a
We have a motion to approve the newspaper for legal notices. Ogdensburg Journal and the Advanced News.
I'll make. Second.
Seconded by Don Hooper. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Community Bank. Well, all the banks. You want to read them all off?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second? Don Hooper. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Well, First National Bank in Northern New York. Is that the old NBT?
It's NBT now.
Yeah, that shouldn't even be on there.
I needed your vote a minute ago, buddy. It's gone. It's gone. It's over.
No, is that the old Lisbon Bank?
Oh, is that what Lisbon is?
Upstate.
Yeah, they're called Upstate National Bank now.
So should we change that to the Upstate National Bank then?
Yeah.
What about M&T?
With that change, we had the motion, the second, everything is carried. I guess we're ready to the executive director's report.
As far as staff reports, again, in the interest of time, we've got a lot to talk about today. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
How soon will we hear anything on the essential air service? It's definitive for us as opposed to Watertown and Racine.
The Essential Air Service, I'm prepared to make a recommendation to the board tonight on that topic. It's actually the last thing up on the regular meeting.
But when will we get feedback from them?
Don't follow. We have the same. We have the
If
same
we ask them
information.
to put it out,
they do
back
with-
out for bid or whatever, what time frame are we talking about before the activity?
So no. Either the expedited process, or if we put it back, or if we request it to be put back out to bid. Both time frames are on, but it would be assumed to be an expedited process.
And we don't know if expedited means 3-6 months or 6 to 12
We
months.
have no idea. We're told by USDOT, typical process 6 to 9 months, expedited process may be 3 months, but again, it's somewhere it's all in that. It's in that range. There's nothing definitive there.
Does anybody have any questions on the Executive Director's report.
Your discussions with Dank, have they been furthered with regard to what our interests are as well?
They have been very productive. As a matter of fact, there's a resolution agenda item before the board this evening on that topic as well.
That's for them to do that, though, but didn't we at one point in time have discussions of some sort of a
yes,
partnership
on the
or-
bridge project?
Is that
Those
moving ahead
discussions
still?
are on. Yes, they're separate from the resolution
Right.
for you this evening.
Any other questions? Moving right on to...
Well, just real quick, on the security at the airport, obviously there's no essential air service right now, so contractually, what does that do with the city?
We end up performing, let me back up a step. I checked with TSA. TSA basically does not require security to the level, at the same level if there was passenger service. As a result, the TSA grant, the Leo pass-through agreement, does not apply in this case, and we notified the city the day that we received that notification from TSA that was not required.
And contractually, there's no issues with the city. We don't need the service. We don't have to pay for
We
it.
don't require the service at this point.
There's no minimum.
But there's, yeah, right.
It's for actual work performed, which is required.
Chief Financial Officer, Mark Mashwood.
I don't have anything new unless there's any questions.
How much did the health insurance go up this time?
I believe it went up. The premiums went up 11%. Overall, 7% increase once you throw in our portion of the self-funding.
That's 7% increase for us.
Yeah, that would be our share. 11% pure
Is
premiums.
that including the employees, or is...
Yes, that's our authority cost as employer.
pretty good, I think. I wish I could look at 7%.
Mark, we saw a big change in the port operating income for the month of November 07 versus the month of November 06. What do you attribute? Is that just timing of the salt ships? See the big change there?
The 1 month ending,
Yeah.
port operating 51 compared with 159. Yeah, we must have received.
I mean, you're down 231 on the year to the port for operating income, but you get 100,000 of that last month.
Right, that's got to be a timing of ships in there. But I'll email you guys, Jim, to let you know for sure what that is. It's been a while since I've looked at these.
Big improvement in insurance.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Moving right on to the Director Development Report, Commercial Industrial, John Rich.
I'd be glad to answer any questions too in my report. Just note, Mary, that we did set up a meeting with Ontario Ministry of Transportation regarding southbound signage.
Great.
Is there anything in your report that you should bring to the attention of the board?
Well, we have North Country Freight Needs Study, the Port Master Plan, our first meeting January 25th at 10. Wade and I are going to the Highway H2O conference tomorrow in Toronto. We're going to start becoming actively involved in that. There's a new director at the Capital Corridor program. We had a meeting set up with him, but because the windstorm was canceled, but we'll reschedule that. And we continue to work on port and industrial prospects.
How far along are we with the port for the windmills coming in here?
Looks good.
Contracts are all signed. Everything's in place.
Pretty much. I mean, we have a signed contract, yeah.
Have signed contract, deposit has not been received as of this point.
I spoke with him last week, and everything's on schedule. Looks good.
Any questions?
I think the focus right now is they've locked in ports. Now he's gone and he's involved aggressively with construction of it on that. It's his focus right now. So.
But we got to get geared up here for training.
Yeah, I mentioned that to him, and he said that would probably be like a month before the first ship.
Plus, we got to get some manpower numbers of what they're going to need and what type of people and what specialized tradespeople they're going to need and what specialized training we're going to need. The company's got to give us that. I mean, this company that's coming in here to do this unloading of this stuff, we got to know what his needs are, and we got to know, I don't want to get caught here in a situation where we don't have the people ready for them.
Okay. We're in touch with them, and we'll continue to push them to get an answer.
You're going to do the training, right?
Yes.
So we need to know that manpower number. Anything else? Oh, Mr. Reich?
So I add one thing, and we'll talk about a couple of projects in executive session this evening as well.
Okay. And we'll go right to the Director of Operation, William E. Payne.
I have nothing to add.
You want to talk about cottonseed? No, huh?
Not really. But the homily has started to be trucked out. And the salt numbers are basically, percentage-wise, are the same. They're just higher, obviously.
No, when the hominy gets trucked out, we make money on the scaling and the loading, right? So how do you think our numbers were this year for handling hominy? Our quotes, good?
Yeah, they'll be good.
How's your loaders, Bill? Pretty good?
We're hanging in there.
Okay. Steve Lawrence, Facility Manager. He's the guy. He'll give us a report. Go ahead.
The only thing what everybody knows about is the bridge accident. It's the only thing that I could add to
How
that.
did you do that?
How did we do that?
I mean, you. I can't leave town alone. You're on the news.
Oh. Where were you when you heard?
Was it Utica?
I was going to say the other side of the bridge.
The word gets around. It was all
Oh, yeah?
that.
You weren't the only bridge, though.
But we were we were in the process of restricting traffic, and we were probably 10 minutes away, and it just came up. It was just incredible, and the conditions out there were, they were just unbelievable. And we talked to different drivers, and they all that were experienced with crossing. One driver, Bill, was 25, 30 years with Laidlaw, and he had crossed no less than 5 minutes before this truck, and he had never experienced that. And he had one of those, they haul cement type of things. It was empty, and he was very worried about. He was scared, and he said he had just crossed like 3 or 4 minutes before that truck went over.
Because the guy that went over was relatively empty, right?
It was a Breckenridge truck. All he had was probably maybe a dozen boxes of computer parts, and he was working for Breckenridge, and it was one
Did
of
they
those.
take that into consideration before they decided to go over with high wind?
What's
Did
that?
they take that into consideration before they decided to go over?
They do, but we were in the process of restricting it where we'd make that decision for them. Anybody probably 60,000 and under, or depends on the wind, probably 50,000, we just won't let them cross. And then depending on how, what kind of wind, we keep anything with a high sail or profile type of thing. We were in the process of restricting to one lane and passenger cars only escorted, but we never got to that. We were there in the process, and I think it was 9:30 that we'd started that, and I think it was 20 to 10, quarter to 10 that the accident happened.
How do you restrict on the other side?
We put somebody,
or you just have to?
yes, and Wade will address that later, but people helped us. What we do is we close it down, we load up the cars on either side, and basically we have one truck going back and forth. And when there's no like slippery conditions and the low profile of the cars, it really isn't that bad. And if you take the other lane out of consideration, it's really, you're all going in a convoy. They go over and then it comes back. It just, and that works pretty good. But when you add either icy conditions or the trucks in there, the trucks really in the wind are one thing, and then with icy conditions, it makes everybody nervous. And that's the one where we, if there's no accidents or anything, that's the other one. We might shut it down. They got too icy, but when you do that, the ice builds up. So,
how are you fortunate enough to have enough parts to be able to go pile it back together?
We've been buying panels. The last accident we had was in '04, and we bought a half dozen panels. We kind of had put together different sizes, and we have panels in posts, and they don't all fit exactly the same on the bridge, but they're aluminum, they're easy to cut, and that we had enough. But right now with that one, we're right down the limit, so we need to reorder and keep that. So
we should keep some spares in stock.
So do you have to do an accident investigation?
OPP did, and that came out today, and we just got a copy of that. We want to look at the conditions, and then also we'll do a lessons learned ourselves on things that we can improve on.
So OPP actually has jurisdiction till the midpoint of the...
More so that, Jim, when you look at the two towers, actually the two towers are in Canada. So it's probably 600-700 feet this side is the U.S. one. But I think they kind of, whoever responds first, and in this case, OPP was, Canadian Customs saw it, and OPP responded.
And that's one of the good things is we had a very good response from both CBSA, Customs Border Protection, and Emergency Services. And one of the first things that we'll talk about tonight when we get into the agenda items is a public recognition of those agencies, because they definitely deserve our thanks for helping make a situation which fortunately turned out well. Could have been much worse.
Now, do we notify our insured on the bridge?
Joe Claire called us that same day and paid us a visit the next day. We went and took a look at it.
You'd have to call him. He found out.
He found out through the grapevine, I guess.
That's all that damage is the trucking company's problem.
Ours initially.
Yes. Then
They'll sue over on the truck.
There's no fault insurance there. That's what I'm talking about.
No fault doesn't come into play unless you talk about people who are personally injured.
Oh, yeah?
We're talking about property.
So that's the Canadian problem.
No, that's our problem initially, and then what will happen is our insurer will go after the trucking company to indemnify them.
Anything else?
Do you have to do any structural inspections on...
Yeah, we did just in that area, and basically we were looking really at the deck where it came over on the side type of thing, but other than actually the deck was in really good shape. There was a few bars that were just, you could see where it must have been a pinch point or something, but the railings what took the brunt, kind of the way it slid along there.
Okay, we'll move on to the business items. The General Administration, approval of the collective bargaining agreement for the employees.
Well, actually, there's one I'd like to sneak in there ahead, if I could, please. It's the extra one, if you will, single page. It's General Administration, Item 0, Public Recognition. The Bridge and Port Authority would like to publicly recognize the following groups for their outstanding service during the January 9th, 2008 bridge incident. OBPA's Employees Association, Customs and Border Protection, Canadian Border Services Agency, Ogdensburg Fire Department, Ogdensburg Volunteer Rescue Squad, Ogdensburg Police Department, the Ontario Provincial Police, the U.S. Coast Guard, the Canadian Coast Guard, and also the Township of Edwardsburg. For the coordination and participation of the parties mentioned above, the vehicle was removed from the bridge at 12:45, and we will reopen the traffic by 4 p.m. same day. So these folks really deserve our thanks and gratitude, and I'd like to publicly recognize them for a job well done.
So So noted. Don't need a motion on it, do you?
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion. Do we have a second? By Bill. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll move on to the collective bargaining agreement with the OBPA and the Employees Association.
This bargaining agreement expired March 31st, 2007, the current one. A new agreement was negotiated by the authority, staff, council, and the Employees Association. The agreement was ratified by the Employees Association on December 20th, 2007. Significant elements of this agreement, Mark will go into some detail here, but at the high level, it's a 4-year agreement commencing April 1, 2007, ending March 31st, 2011. A year-to-year increase, 3% first year, 4% second, 4% third, 3% fourth. Mark, you want to walk us through some of the other details?
Sure. Going on the list, we have a new language for a longevity award. We have a 35-year of service award, and now we are adding a 40 years of service award, which will be a $750 lump sum payment, which is the same amount as the 35 years of service award. Holiday pay for employees in an established schedule, which at this point is our janitorial staff and our tool collectors. They will be paid double time and a half for working holidays. The current language calls for time and a half plus straight time off. So instead of building up compensatory time, we'll get that done in the time period that the holiday falls upon. Personal leave, there was changing that language. The original language called for 4 personal days being granted immediately upon hire to kind of protect the authority to an early dismissal or termination. Those will be earned ratably over the 4 quarters of the first year, so to be granted on the first day of hire.
Personal days are considered an accrued benefit? Are considered a benefit? I thought it was just vacation, sick and personal or not. If you left, you don't get them.
Right, somebody could use them and then
Sure.
could work for a month and take all 4 personal days immediately. But you're right, no, we wouldn't pay you for personal time. The health insurance benefits are on the last page. I'll go over those last. The health insurance buyout provided a $1,200 buyout in lieu of coverage policy for any employee wishing not to receive coverage. This will give the employee the benefit of receiving something for giving up that benefit. A flexible spending plan will be initiated hopefully by April 1st, 2008. There may be a minimal cost to the authority of, say, a couple $1,000s to run the flexible spending plan. And that'll give the employees of the authority some tax benefits there on their own personal side of things.
Who will actually be in charge of administering that?
John Kamai with Benefit Services Group has offered to do that for us for about $7 per person. That runs about $2,300 a year, I believe. We can take over all or any portion of that if we feel it's worth the time to do that.
But right now, that's going to be strictly voluntary. The employees will bear the cost, or the authority will bear the cost.
No, the authority would bear the cost of managing it. The authorities will see, or the employees will see of a savings on their personal tax returns.
It's also high.
$2,500?
Yeah. Just to manage that?
Yeah, that would be to reimburse checks and keep track of the submissions.
Pretty steep.
Yeah. Well, we're also toying with the idea of just doing it ourselves, so that's probably something we will retain. What would happen there is an employee would give us receipts for a month, and then once a month or once a quarter, we would reimburse that employee for a qualified deduction.
Well, they also use it in different ways, too. For example, they might sign up to have $10 taken out of their paycheck every pay period for a year to save up for LASIK surgery on their eyes or something, right?
Right, the election has to be made before the year starts. Yep, there's a one-time election before the year starts, and then that gets withheld.
I mean, that's withholding for pay,
Yep.
putting in a separate account.
And then the work is reimbursing the employees for the receipts that they bring in. It could be for co-pays or over-the-counter drugs or
But my point being,
daycare
I think that
services.
every time you have a pay period, you're going to have transactions done. Each employee was participating.
Yeah.
But your
But they'll
payroll
be fairly
service
automated.
take care of that.
Right, they'll be fairly automated, yes. That won't be any work at all, the withholding part. It'll be the reimbursement side.
I don't know, the management seems awful excessive. I mean, we do it, we do it as part of an HR program, and there's no way it costs us anywhere near that. We don't have, we have 20 employees on it.
Well, we haven't looked around at all. That was just a dollar amount thrown out there.
There's a typo.
We can pursue that further.
There's a typo, Mark. It's a little arbitration and grievance. The time permitted employee for filing a written petition has been changed. Will it be?
Has been changed from, yes. Yep, thank you. Should be. Okay. The top of the next page, the safety shoes. These are things that have a personal nature. We can wear these on the weekends, whatnot. So we will reimburse employees $125 once for a 12-month period for safety shoes.
Do they have to show a receipt that they bought safety shoes?
Yes. Yep.
And I assume we have a specification that they've got to be steel-toed. I got a target or not.
CDL license, I'm not too sure how many employees this covers, but the expiring contract called for a $40 reimbursement on such fees, and we've gone to a 50% reimbursement for the cost of those fees. I believe that's an 8-year fee. Steve, is that
Yeah.
correct?
It's
An 8-year license? Yeah.
And most everybody, just pick them up periodically.
But what is it, 50% of? Do we have any idea?
About $160.
So it's gone to basically $80.
$80. Toll collector compensatory time. Our toll collectors are stuck out at the booth for their entire shift. They take their meal break out there and everything else. Right now there's a policy there. If they collect more than $1,500, we give them compensation time for that. With the toll increase that took effect last year, we've raised that dollar amount from $1,500 to $2,000. And this only covers shifts where there is no dual coverage, which right now is the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. This
The
policy.
purpose for this is to run the money inside and go back out again?
No, the purpose of this is for not allowing a meal break, the amount of work being done during that 8 hours without a specified break.
But then why are we tying it to how much they collect?
That is kind of our measurement for the amount of work being done. So if it's I don't want to say a slow shift, but a routine shift, there's no benefit there. But on a shift where it's extremely busy and you might not get a chance to take the break that you may want or deserve, there's a benefit there.
How do you stay in compliance with the law of the state of New York? Between the 5th and 6th hour, everybody's to get 20-minute meal break. How do you stay in compliance with that?
There's an exception to that rule for specified.
Do we have that in place?
Yeah.
But they're on break every time there's no car there.
So in actuality, they won't get any
Well, yeah.
compensation unless they go over $2,000 worth of.
They won't earn any additional time off.
They all have a special time when they take the break, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Well, they don't take a break. They eat right there at the toll booth.
So if they're bothered by somebody coming through, it's got to be $2,000 worth
Right.
before they get any compensation for it.
Right. This probably occurs a half dozen times a year. It's really not that big an issue.
Okay. Interesting.
Under arbitration and grievance, we've changed some time periods there to allow a grievance to be filed, and the amount of time it takes before that grievance reaches arbitration if that's necessary. And there was also some language changes for the disciplinary action policy.
Connie noted you have to add a DV or change on that second line as well. Changed from one working day to 1 week.
Well, Mark, you should expand, basically, these two provisions of the contract are completely rewritten at our request, basic. Took out a lot of old language and put in a lot of new language that we think is, we don't get a lot of grievances, but it'll streamline the process if we get them.
Yeah, I think it made it
Much more precise.
clarified it a lot. Yeah, a lot more black and white. The next item, the payroll deduction. The union approached us with this public employees organized remote legislative equality program. They would like to participate in that. Since there's other avenues to donate to this program, we made a stipulation in there that unless there's 5 employees, to make it worth the work involved, we can voluntarily withhold that from their pay. They're voluntarily withholding it from their pay. Employee handbooks will now require an annual certification stating that they've read and understood the policies. And that's a policy we should set forth for management also, not just the union employees. And on the list of available positions, we've added a utility worker position, which is a more well-rounded position in the maintenance department.
Do you have anybody in that position now?
No, it's flexible. The flexible title only. There's no description.
Are we adding this to hire somebody?
No. It's just added to the Schedule A4, A5. It's there if we need it in the future. But
Is this a management request or?
What is this? Why would you want to add something to the contract?
This was the management.
We don't have anybody in.
No, it changed the language of how you change the utility worker's description to include more functions.
Right, our current list of positions doesn't really have a position as broad as this position. So maybe in the future it might be something we want to look at.
Well, I'm just asking the question here because I wasn't briefed on any of this stuff here, these changes. But, I sit in here as the chairman, I want to make sure that the board members understand, and I don't want to see a grievance here in about 4 or 5 months that we got a person that should be doing utility work and they want to hire somebody or whatever. Now they got a classification to file a grievance on. So if you're starting to move somebody around and now that we're classifying them as a utility person, next thing I know, they're going to want to fill that position, want to bid on it, or put it up for bid, or put it up for posting. So, just want to know how you
I
guys
don't think
put
this
it
will
in
create
there.
any problem of that sort.
Well, I hope 6 months from now you don't come back and tell me we got a problem with it.
No.
Because I don't like to add things to a contract that isn't necessary. If you got to have something, you want to fill something, you want to create something, then we do it. Then we justify it. Just to put a blank in there and say someday we might need it, I don't know if that's a good move on management's side. And if you're the ones that move for it, I just wanted to comment on it since this thing's wide open for comments.
as far as comments go on this, ideally this would have been handled similar to what you saw with the wind turbine agreement. This basically should be a collective bargaining agreement with OBPA Employees Association as per Schedule A. All this stuff should be, all the business confidential stuff should be in Schedule A. At this point, I think we would be well within our rights, being that this is a labor agreement, to have a closed-door executive session discussion on this, because it's kind of...
I don't think you do. We're not talking about a particular person.
Talk about an agreement in total.
But
Yeah.
you're adding a job position.
I don't want to get some
No,
trouble.
you're not in trouble by talking about the contract. You haven't approved it.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
I don't want to go into executive session to
You
discuss the title.
can go into executive session to discuss the terms of the contract.
Right. That's exactly
To
right.
get exactly what you want understood, and then come out and go through it here.
That's right. That's
You
what
have that right.
But right now, we're doing it in an open session right now. And I see here adding a job position. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Am I reading it right?
Right, we're adding a position to the list of available positions.
That we
Yes.
don't have in the contract.
Right, we're adding it to the
So
contract.
now there is a position that can be filled.
We don't have anything in our budget either, though.
Is there any other unfilled positions that are listed?
Yes, it's
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
All right. Now, I just want to back up. Okay. and I want to go to the issue of holidays. Now, I'm working on it at the toll booth. Tell me how you're going to pay me. Right now, tell me how I get paid right now.
Actually, Fred, the language that's right there is exactly what was being done by the authority, as opposed to what was in the contract, if I recall correctly.
Correct, yes, you do.
All we did is put in the words exactly what we were paying them. We changed the contract to be exactly what the past practice has been for the people in toll booths and holidays.
Because
What does the
usually,
existing contract state in there?
It says it's time and a half plus straight time compensatory.
Compensatory, I know we were given days off,
So if you work Christmas, you get time and a half plus you get a day off.
except that they weren't getting a day off, they were actually getting paid. They were
So
getting
it's 2.5 times.
2.5 times.
No, it really does. It cleans up the
what,
policy.
what happens here, it's got me confused here. I mean, I'm not shooting stones or anybody here, but listen, it says to me here that if I work the holiday, I get double time.
Plus 1/2.
That's where I'm confused, because all of my labor agreements are very clear. If I work the holiday, in additional to the holiday, I receive 2 times my hourly rate. So I would get paid, 2 times for the hours that I work, plus the holiday. But the way this is wording, am I now going to get time and a half again for the 8 hours I work?
Yes, you're going to get paid double time and a half.
And then I got to see that in the original contract.
It
Because
was in the contract.
Frank, I have no problem paying the person double time for working the holiday. I have no problem giving him 8 hours pay for the holiday. But I'm not going to pay him time and a half for the hours of 8 he works. On top of that, you're pyramiding, Frank.
Well, I'm saying, Fred,
Pyramiding is not legal.
all we did is do what you've been paying for the last
Well,
years.
I'm telling you, in the rules of procedure, and I've had many of arbitrations, you cannot pyramid, and that's what they're doing here.
Make a motion, we adjourn to executive session.
Yeah. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, William.
You're welcome, Fred.
Are there any employees in here affected by this?
Would you like to be?
I didn't know we had to play with the governor's office too.
Bill, take a break and have a cookie.
We found that. We found that last minute as we were looking. Sorry,
Can I do that? Hey, your last meeting you had. Oh, sorry.
Can you wait for March? I don't know.
No. Next meeting then.
Yes. Okay, next item of business. Coming back from executive session after discussion of the labor agreement, we'll move right on to general business approval of appointment of the director of operations. What the hell was that?
With the recent announcement that our current Director of Ops, Bill Payne, will be retiring, staff has reviewed and revised the job description for this position and is recommending board approval to fill this position. Attached is a copy of the revised description. Based on stated qualifications and prior work experience with the authority, staff recommends the appointment of Stephen J. Lawrence to the position of Director of Operations, effective February 1st, 2008, annual salary $73,600.
Mr. Chairman, may I have the floor for just a moment?
Yes, you may.
For full disclosure,
You may.
the authority has always had a committee structure, at least insofar as I've been on the board. And presently, we have 8. 6 of them are substantive. 2 are by governor's executive order, the audit committee and the governance committee. And it's always been my understanding that the committee served a purpose, and not only for critical and studied analysis of the issues and how they affect the committee itself, but also inquiry and input and interaction with staff and board members. And basically, those functions allow us to fulfill our fiduciary duties as board members. And in the interest of full disclosure, I do want the rest of the board to know that this, as well as the next agenda item, never came before the Personnel Committee. We weren't this is not a recommendation. We weren't consulted. We were given the same opportunity for input as you all have. And while the two positions seem to merit the board's full support, I just don't want us to get in a situation in which either we abolish or abrogate our committee structures or take away their effectiveness or efficiency. And so with that said, I just want the rest of the board members to know I don't support the irregular process underlying either of these agenda items since they didn't come before the Personnel Committee.
So noted. Do we have a motion to accept the resolution that's in front of us? Seconded by by Bill. Do we have a second? I'll second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordered.
Agenda item 8.3 is approval of organizational changes. Specifically, this is a maintenance supervisor position. In keeping with organizational changes, staff has developed a new job description of maintenance supervisor to provide support for the position of director of operations. This position has been established as a CSEA Employees Association grade 11 position. Attached, you'll see a copy of the maintenance supervisor job description. The job description for this position has been reviewed by the New York State Department of Civil Service. They've provided their concurrence that the position title and salary is accurately represented. Staff recommends the solicitation of applications for this position as soon as possible.
Have a motion to approve this? Any discussion? I'll second the motion. Bill made it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 4.
Agenda item 8.4 is support of the Development Authority of the North Country application. DANK recently submitted an application to the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration, EDA, to extend the open access telecom network to 5 industrial parks in northern New York, including the authority's Commerce Park. Obviously, the extension of fiber optic to the authority's Commerce Park tenants would improve customer choice and reliability, enhance future economic development opportunities for these firms as well. Staff recommends that the authority go on record to support the development of the Development Authority of the North Country's application.
Second. Seconded by Jim. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, was there any questions on this? Too much sugar.
Call roll.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Can I go back just to make one point, though, just for the folks that are here that may not, we did discuss, and while those two positions didn't go through the Personnel Committee, they were discussed by the full board. We discussed those, so I know that.
So noted. Approval of transfer storage agreement with Hoosier.
The current transfer and storage agreement expires January 31st, 2008. This is for 15,000 square feet of space, warehouse P4 at the Port of Ogdensburg, 1-year period commencing February 1st, 2008, ending January 31st, 2009. Rental rate for storage, 33 cents per square foot per month. Hoosier will cover their own costs for electricity for the space. Also required, proof of appropriate insurance coverage and a corresponding security deposit. Other rates included with this agreement: $75 per hour for forklift and operator, $90 per hour for overtime, and overtime at $50 per hour for other manpower.
I'll make.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Bill. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Just one quick question. Is that the same rate they were at last year? They were at 30 cents last year.
This is actually an increase.
And the 2 other main tenants down there also. What are they storing here?
The
Magnetic powder that they...
iron ferrite powder?
That's all.
No.
Approval of leased supplement with Breckenridge.
This one is shorter term than what you typically see. I'll bring your attention. This
We got to vote on
Yes,
this.
we did vote on it.
Oh, we did.
No.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hope they don't watch this week on TV.
Cut him off from the cookies.
Start again. Approval of lease of supplement with Breckenridge.
All right, here we go. This one's a little bit different than what you typically see. Most of our leases are for a year term. This one has been requested by Breckenridge for 6-month term. This is a supplemental lease with Breckenridge, 10,310 square feet of space, and the authority's 6th industrial building in the park. The rate is $580 per square foot for year commencing February 1st, 2008, expiring July 31st, 2008. The reason they're doing this is they're trying to figure out what their space needs actually are. This is a stopgap for them. Under this agreement, Breckenridge will be responsible for utility costs and provide proof of appropriate insurance, naming OBPA as additional insurer.
Is this space they're currently occupying? Yes. Okay.
Is it the new building?
No, there's building 1, which is the building they own.
Yeah.
That's the original building. The new building, building 11. Is that right?
New building, building 14.
14.
And there's the addition, building 11. They have that building 11.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is-
behind Social Security.
Yeah, it's just storage.
So there's a possibility after July 31st, they may not need the space.
They may not.
That's correct. That's correct.
What's the current lease? Was it a year-long lease with them currently?
Yeah.
So they just opted for 6 months?
Yep.
I'll move it.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I was looking at the rate.
Aye.
Agenda item C2, I'd like to point out there is a typo in this agenda item, and it is a significant typo. It reads $35,000. It should read $45,000 throughout. Staff solicited quotations from qualified firms to amend and activate Foreign Trade Zone 118 at the Port of Ogdensburg. Again, keep in mind this is for part of the wind turbine project. Quotations for such services, we focused in on Miller & Company at a cost not to exceed $45,000. What this basically does, submits an application to the FTZ board to amend the boundaries of Foreign Trade Zone 118 to include the Port of Ogdensburg, formulates a plan to comply with all necessary customs requirements for day-to-day operation of the zone, formulates and structures the appropriate management system, develops a Foreign Trade Zone Operator's Manual, applies to Customs and Border for activation of the zone, and submits a Foreign Trade Zone Operator's Bond. The good news on this is the range will not exceed $45,000 on the low end. It's probably going to be $19,000. So it's going to be somewhere in that range.
Where's Miller and Company from?
They are out of Kansas City, Missouri, and New York offices, and Washington as well.
Okay. Now, if we solicited bids for this, did we have any committee review the bids that came in?
No, this was strictly, this was not an RFP. This was more or less an RFQ.
Request for qualifications.
Request for qualifications, yes.
How many firms submitted?
We had 3 submit. 2, there was Miller, there was, bear with me here, one was Foreign Trade Zone Corporation, and the other was IMS, bear with me here, I got a stack of papers, IMS Worldwide.
The qualifications were evaluated internally.
Yes.
Are the other two significantly higher, or are they all pretty much in the ballpark?
You don't get pricing. Qualifications is just qualifications.
Oh, it's just qualified,
But it
okay.
says solicited quotations, even though he's saying.
Yeah, it does say quotations.
It does say
not
quotations. This is another, should not say that report.
So it should say solicited.
Qualifications.
Solicit qualifications.
From firms.
This is the low quotation.
Should actually
People
say
must have
responses and qualifications.
posted. So we did get quotations from these other two as well. Yeah, it says
You
the
did.
low
We'll
quotation
go-
for such services was
Yes, we
provided.
Yeah, it does have dollars, figures in here, so the others must have submitted some figures.
Yes, they did.
So
So
what
this
kind of
was not a
range?
qualification-based selection.
Must be quotation.
Well,
Would have gone to finance? Would this have gone to finance?
Oh, it seems like it should have gone to through one of the committees.
let me get the actual document.
What dictates what has to be qualification-based and what can be?
Personal services.
You can't do both.
This is a professional service.
You don't ask. You just
Exactly, that's,
right.
Maybe
That's how we. That's
no, you
how
ask
we
for,
do it.
you ask for qualifications, you pick the top,
No pricing doesn't enter in.
Right.
That's after the
but
fact.
that's not what happened here?
But it looks like they did both. 'cause it
We asked
says
for qualifications, and what we
quotation.
got back were qualifications and pricing.
That's not ours. So I accept it.
Kind of odd.
With the personal service, it doesn't have to be. Doesn't mean it can't be as well.
You don't just have.
But it bothers me that if we are doing solicitations for quotations as well, it seems like it should have gone before the finance committee or
Winter project.
I don't know all the names of the committees in front of me, but and the purpose of that being to evaluate. Mark, I have this green folder.
And one of those photos, do you have one of those from either IMS or
IMS
Miller and
worldwide.
Company? I can't find it here.
Give me your work, Mark.
The IMS one. This one's blank.
You got the other one upstairs, John?
I've got Miller.
Wait, if you think they're going to come in around 19,
Well, it all depends, here it is. It all depends on how it's, on the type and the amount of work that's involved. And unfortunately, we won't know that until we actually get into the process. That is the Miller and Company. That one is IMS.
should we do this as a two-phase approach then, figure out what it's going to take?
Well, we're really under the gun on this one because we do need to get the foreign trade zone up and active prior to the wind turbine project, and we do have a compressed time horizon there that we have to operate on.
And we had the earlier discussion about the time to do the training and everything, so it seems to me that you're right about that. We're not
And I'm
the only
reading in
one.
this letter from Miller and Company.
Miller and Company on the low end of the range, when you figure in travel expenses and everything, comes to about $19,000. But if you figure out the maximum range that they're talking about,
To 30.
it's about $45 for all the.
City water.
City water pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Triple. That's what. This one doesn't come around.
Will this amendment of the zone be permanent, or will it be just one-time shot?
This will be a tool that we'll have at the Port of Ogdensburg and also in the Commerce Park that will outlive the wind turbine
So
project.
basically, it's really just extending it down to the port.
Exactly. Well, it's also activating
the light
it.
industrial park and adds 20 acres.
Oh, because you're limited on that, you can have total.
Yes.
Yeah. There's 70 acres of the light industrial park.
It's not active now. It's not active now.
And this is what it's doing.
For the windmill project, yes.
This-
And
what does this actually do? This, for all intents and purposes,
IMS titled, "There's Request for Quote." You're supposed to request for qualifications.
I guess that's what it was. So this is really, it's a fee-based proposal. It wasn't based on qualifications.
Do we have a letter that went out for publication?
Just an email request to everybody that we had on file for foreign trade zones, everybody that we could find.
Pretty obvious that there are
These
no
are highly specialized firms. There aren't many of them out there.
So these are not considered professional services. I would say.
I don't know enough about it.
Doesn't require a professional license or anything, so I guess it's fine.
Well, they are professional services because that's why we're making the recommendation to go with Miller, because that's who we have talked with. We've talked with all the firms, and that's the one that we're most comfortable with based on their approach and based on their proposal as out.
But it wasn't done in the normal manner for a request for qualifications. It was a request for qualification.
No, that's fair. That's a fair criticism because this was done the week before Christmas.
I just want to make sure that we're not violating any protocol or mandates from the state that it's got to be a request for qualifications before you can get quotes.
I would be comfortable waiving the procurement procedure, the normal procurement procedures on this, based on the fact alone that this is tied to the wind turbine contract, and we need to have this on an expedited basis. That, based on the fact that there are very few firms that do this type of work, we're on solid ground on this.
Did you do the New York State contract reporter?
No. No, the earliest, I'll give an example, the New York State contract reporter, had we put this out in the New York State contract reporter, the earliest you'd be able to even open something now would be February, which is far beyond what we could do to get it approved in time.
Jim, for our internal procurement policy, I guess we're considering these professional services, so it would be very similar to our auditor, our annual auditor. We put out the proposals. This is what we want you guys to do for us. Give us the price quote for that. And as a professional service, we're not obligated to take the lowest bidder. If you're qualified and we think you best fit our firm, we can choose any of the respondents. But for the New York State contract reporter, I'm not sure what the regulations are on
I
that.
thought it was anything over 5,000.
15, I thought.
And you do professional services too?
Everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can request that you can request to New York State that you don't have to go through that process, and we see those all the time when we check to say, hey, this particular project is a sole source contract, and so therefore it's not being solicited.
And we'll have to follow up on that process as well.
I just want to make sure that you're following the right procedures.
Oh, absolutely. And again, for the balance of following the right procedure and keeping the customer at the port, we'll follow up, obviously, and get the appropriate waiver. But as this is an extremely time-sensitive issue critical to the project, that's why we felt it appropriate to move on this.
Let me see if I'm following the board to make sure I understand. What we've done is we've got the foreign trade zone, and we've activated it, right?
No,
Trying.
currently inactive.
Right.
This turns it on.
We found out it was inactive because the windmill people want to use it down at the port.
That's correct.
Otherwise, we'd have never done anything on this.
That's correct.
So now we're going to activate this to move it down to the port and the industrial park.
Yes.
Why does that have to go for bid? Why does it have to go for RFPs? We've already got the established, we had it here, I mean, at one time. I mean, I guess we didn't keep it hopping. You know, maybe there was no way we could move, or it became inactive for us, right? We couldn't get nothing out of it anyways.
Yes, we let a bond lapse at one point, and that's what triggered.
But that was done way back
inactive
15 years ago.
So now it has to be reactivated.
Right.
And that's why we need professionals to do this for us.
And these are the people.
Well, these
Well,
are
one of
it's just
them.
the process. It isn't the fact of amending the boundary. It's just, Jim's question was regarding the
procurement process.
procurement processes strictly. It wasn't regarding,
Well, I kept hearing it wasn't put in front of the committees.
Well, I asked that question because it says it's solicited quotations, and then we were told, no, it was a request for qualifications. So that got us into the discussion of whether or not we asked for quote or we asked for qualifications.
over there.
Where'd the Miller quote go? I just wonder.
Mark, where's
So do we have a resolution in front of us right now that needs to be tabled or approved?
Up to. Get that.
You got one in my office.
In my opinion, this needs to be approved. If it's not approved, we put the wind turbine project at risk. Because in our contract with the wind turbine people, is an activated.
Do we need to add,
Expenses vary. That's why I'm thinking that that's the extra 5,000 that they thrown in.
I'm thinking here, wavering what they're talking about to this resolution?
We're going to have to take some lumps on this in order to keep the wind turbine project at, yes.
I don't have a problem with reactivating the foreign trade zone. I think it's actually a great thing. But, and I understand your timing issues.
I think the staff has to work within the confines of what they got. They got a project, it's got to go. We've got a customer that needs this foreign trade zone thing put back in place, and we got to reactivate it. And I don't see where we've done anything that shouldn't be done by management. I mean, staff should be moving on.
Other than we didn't know about it.
I'm not sure it's a thing of the board needed to know about it prior to.
Mark called me on a $5,000 one the other day to make sure we had approval. You know,
We didn't know about this until the week of Christmas. That's when we found out.
Yeah, but
the gas boy.
All right, that's a different story. We can talk about
Yeah, but our board members have always been flexible with trying to meet on an expedited basis, so I don't really think that's, all told the whole reason or a whole rationale for why this wouldn't have come forward.
So why are we approving 45,000 when you know it's going to be 19,000?
Up to 40.
Well, on the low end is probably 19. On the high end, it's probably going to be 45.
Which you contract me $45,000 not to exceed. I'm going to bill you $45,000.
We're darn close to it.
Which is in line with what we knew this was going to cost back when we did the wind turbine proposal. We expected this cost.
So do we build that into our proposal?
Yes, we did.
So you are really getting compensated for it then?
No, we're not being paid. I mean,
But you built it into your hard costs.
We knew it was going to be a cost, yes.
But what cost did we build in? Do we have enough to pay the 45?
Yes.
Where does it show up?
We had it up on the screen there
Yeah, but I
before
don't
when we talked
recall
about it.
exactly the number it was put in there.
actually, Mary.
15,000?
Considerably different than what we anticipated.
What would it cost the other two? Low and high?
IMS was 47.5.
I thought there was just two. And that was presented as a flat fee.
Right.
47.5 flat fee?
47.5 flat fee. There were some other hidden things in here that we caught when we were looking at it.
There were. Yeah.
The third one, again, I mean, you're talking about things that have come in over the course of the last week and a half. There is a third one from FTZ Corp. I can't lay my hands on it for this meeting. I know it's up in my office somewhere. I can't find it.
Well, why don't we just do this? And I know this is a crucial thing about this project, but what I think we should do is just table this and if we need to call a special meeting, I'll call it back in. I mean, that's simple.
But I don't think you want to table it. You need to move it
Well,
along right now.
I don't want to approve something, Mary, that you're not comfortable with. You're not comfortable. You know, I'm not comfortable with it now since you brought all this stuff up. You know, when you tell me it's 19,000 and then you just said to me, and the guy over here makes the remark, and you make the remark, well, it's going to be 45,000. I don't buy that. I want a hard number now.
There's
We'll just show up next week to prove it. Do it before the 25th, because I'm leaving.
Internally, we're all set.
Policy lets you make the decision. You can waive.
We have the ability to waive it
You
for
have
our
the
own
ability to
policy.
waive it if you need it because of extrinsic circumstances. not the amount of money. You got to prove the amount of money. But you can waive the procedure of your own procedure in order to move forward, according to the first paragraph of that particular.
But if we've already put a number in there, we put a $15,000 number in there, now we're at $45,000. Not comfortable. Okay? I'd be more comfortable with getting back to these guys and have them give us a hard number. And if we're not, there's numbers.
Well, I'd say, why couldn't they give us
They
a hard
can't
number?
do
Because they don't know exactly what's involved.
The other firm
That's the problem. That's the problem. Even they state that they don't know exactly what's involved in bond-free modification. And every day, again, I don't want to put pressure on the board on this. It's not my
You're not
intention.
gonna-
But every day we delay on this, we put that win for the project at risk.
Kind of the whole thing there.
Okay, let's do it,
Can we
let's
amend
do it
the
this way.
resolution for up to
We'll amend the resolution to add the board will approve the waiver of the procedure, and we'll just move on from there under the rules and procedures that we have outlined here. So,
Yep.
But why don't we go a step further then and also say that the fee is anticipated to come in between $19,000 and $45,000, and we expect an itemization for anything that exceeds $19,000.
you comfortable with that?
Well, I would rather say that if they're going to exceed 19,000, they notify you
And prove why they need to change.
prior to approving.
Perfectly
Is that what their bid says? 19,000?
Well, no, it
No,
doesn't.
when you add up
It has its
No,
figures.
Wade's done some math on it to
when
come
you
up.
add up the sections and look at the travel component, that's kind of our best guesstimate in terms of, they don't specify price, they specify ranges.
But we can pass the resolution, as Mary and Jim and I've suggested, that Bill and Don and Connie, and tomorrow call them for a hard number.
They're not going to really give you one.
I don't think so either.
Well, then put a number in there, not to exceed 20,000 without prior approval.
And justification.
And then at that point, they should know what it's going to cost you. You know, once they've done their preliminary homework. And he's even kind of structured that. That was that first 10,000 was, I didn't read it real closely.
3 to 10,000 for the boundary amendment and 10 to 30 for all the other services associated with,
And those are the services, they don't know really what it is yet.
They don't know.
But once you get through the first 10, you're going to know what the rest is going to take.
I'm not going to do this.
Now, this thing's going to be in the paper tomorrow.
Are they?
It's all going to be in the paper tomorrow.
Days, are they?
So this company's got a wide open thing here for $45,000. He's printing it now.
Sending it to Kansas, Missouri.
I think you've got the proposal. I mean, like Jim's saying, amend it to the 20,000. They're not going to do it, get it complete within 30 days. We meet in another 30 days, but then you'll have hard costs if you
Right, we'll
amend it
know
or
if there's
whatever.
additional costs by then.
Yeah, and I think the minutes should reflect that what we did is we got clarification on our policy. That, I think that's important, that the questions were raised, and then we actually pulled the procurement policy out, looked at it, and we are well within the means of our existing procurement policy to act as we have here.
Have you got that there?
I think it's a good idea.
You know,
Okay.
been reviewed.
The amendments and all the discussion, our stenographer says she's got it all. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Bill? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed or out of order? I had to throw that in there, Bill. I had to throw it in there.
Does that vibration take place in this?
It's under my chair and I'm getting nervous.
Hey, Brad, I got the button over here.
All the time.
Didn't you see that?
With my stomach growling.
Whoa.
The next item is agenda item D1, the railroad.
Yeah.
Approval of the renewal option agreement with the New York and Ogdensburg Railway. I recommend that we table this agreement, discuss it in executive session, and bring it up next time.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I mean, really, you don't even need to table it, because we didn't bring it off the table for action, but.
Bad night.
Yeah, we did need to table it, and I'll tell you why in the executive session.
No, I'm saying we didn't take action, so it's just an item on the agenda, we didn't act, so just moved it, you know, you don't need to move it. Formal motion. Robert rules.
Always there for us.
At night, read
Except
it.
the last,
No, but I gotta know when I run them.
last four relate to airport.
You're good. You get your Roger's rules book.
Yeah.
Item E1 is the approval of the aviation supply, fuel supply agreement with Ascent Aviation. This deals with a credit card system at the airport. Ascent has provided an agreement to the authority to sell, deliver 100 low-lead Jet A aviation fuel. Agreement would effectively commence January 1st, 2008, would be for a 5-year period expiring December 31st, 2012, and would provide Ascent with exclusive right to sell 100 low-lead Jet A fuel at the airport.
And what does this exclusive arrangement, how does that benefit us? If we allow them to lock up our market, how does that benefit us?
That's,
What if at some point in time during the year we find out they've got us over a barrel and we're paying an extra 30 cents a gallon? Now they've got an exclusive with us and we can't get out of it.
that's a good question. Ascent Aviation's basically branded fuel. It's, my limited knowledge, is a good fuel. Beyond that, it really has to do with the fuel credit card system, which is the E2. These two are really interrelated. The terms of the fuel credit card system, which is E2, relate to the approval of the 5-year fuel supply agreement.
Yeah, but don't we pay
So how
for
does
that?
the authority benefit? The authority benefits by not having to go out there and buy a credit card reader, corresponding equipment, and that's it. So there is a tangible benefit to the authority.
So that's on their dime. We don't pay for any of that credit card.
That's correct, and you'll see that in
No, that's not totally.
They're probably
true. You're gonna
getting
pay for the
it.
installation.
Yeah.
But
Bill some installation.
But it's and Mark called me on this. It's about an $8,200 investment to have to make.
You'll see that the
It's
next
no different
3
than
year
the current
basically.
setup we have with aviation.
No, it's not. It's a 5-year agreement.
No, I know that, but I never understood why we were so wedded to them. We found out that fuel was cheaper in Potsdam or other places, and I've said, why can't we shop around? And apparently we're tied up with a contract. So that was my question.
This gives you a national branded fuel, if you will.
This is recognized by pilots? And
Pilots will tell you maybe it's higher quality,
Okay.
maybe, I don't want to say safer, but it's
Has different additives and detergents in it, but beyond that, I don't know the technical aspects of it.
And they have an existing 5-year lease that's just getting done, or what was their lease
Yeah.
before?
I want to say 3 years, but don't hold me to that, Bill. I don't know.
So we've had an existing lease with them. So why do we want to go 5 years or go back?
Again, to avoid the capital cost on the credit card reader.
We get any money per gallon? How much do we capture for the
Tax revenue, basically, comes back to the community. Based
No,
on
I mean the Bridgeport.
what does it cost plus?
With our current pricing, we get about 25 cents, maybe 30 cents a gallon to run the machines, buy the insurance, keep the equipment out,
Provide the tanks.
provide the tanks. And that's completely up to us. The pricing structure is our decision.
And we have experimented in the past a little bit with the pricing and noticed no significant difference.
No.
Do you think that's because everyone else has Ascent Aviation branded fuel too?
I don't know
I mean, if it's nationally recognized, wouldn't pilots come here then for
We
it?
did have Wade research this about a year ago,
a while ago
and
now.
I thought all the other ones were buying Ascent also. Because remember we actually talked about maybe trying to get the partnership arrangement with everyone.
For all
that buys
3
fuel.
airports.
They were already
Like a
the
buying
same fuel.
cooperative or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that was the result, but okay.
What would happen if we just tell them we want to renew it at the same length of time as we had
Yeah,
before?
3.
3 years.
Hypothetically, they come back to us for a bill on the new card reader under E2. and we would still have to pay the installation under E3. And again, obviously the numbers change as a result.
So we're giving them a 5-year agreement to, and then we're paying for the installation of this thing, right?
Well, for
The
dollars.
card thing, whatever you're talking about.
Paying $1,500.
Well, we've already paid that on the first lease that we did with them, didn't we? 3 years ago?
Yeah, what are we buying it again?
That equipment's expired. It's obsolete.
Yeah, it's
And in 5 years, this equipment will be obsolete, so we'll have to do it all over.
So maybe it's better we have a longer one so that
Well, that's why they're willing to transfer it to us at the end of 5 years for a
Like-
buck.
So this one, it sounds like it was obsolete after 3 years. If
Yeah.
we have a 3-year lease.
But this is super duper, so it'll be obsolete after
I'm not
that.
sure, but that equipment's been out there for about 6 years.
Okay,
So the last time we've had this go around, the equipment's older than that.
okay.
So we know they're gonna put this new equipment in.
If we approve it.
if we approve
Well, you have a problem with this?
corresponding agreements.
This all goes to the fact that they changed the credit cards. Who accepts the credit cards? This is self-serve, and if we don't do something, you're not gonna be able to get your own gas there.
Okay, all right. So this is necessary.
Yes.
Okay. I move for adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Go to the next one, Wade. You got me really in a good mood tonight.
E2 is approval of a lease purchase agreement with Sun Aviation. This deals with the fuel credit card system. Ascent will provide a credit card reader, including hardware and software, value $8,175 for the price of $1 payable at the end of 5 years.
Oh, we gotta have it, I'll prove it.
Now, is that present value, that dollar, or?
Yeah.
Mary seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mary, I'll give you 13 cents later, because that's about all it's
I had to get her back a little bit.
Maybe not that much.
Why aren't they getting a 1.5% kickback too on
Well,
every
this
credit
is
card
something you
they sign?
started years ago.
Yeah, that's
This
what
was you started this years ago. We'll get the credit card out there.
But they do.
Yeah, it depends on the credit card.
Yeah, do we get it?
Anywhere between 2 and 4%.
Yeah,
Mark, get as much money as you
yeah,
can.
really, grab all you can.
Agenda item E3 is approval of contract Lakes Region Environmental Contractors. These are the folks that are actually doing the cut-in and the installation. A proposal in the amount of $1,500 from Lakes Region Environmental Contractors to install new aviation card reader system
Boy.
at the airport.
Is this his brother-in-law?
Yeah, no, yeah,
I
right.
don't know, because it seems
Family
like they could
affair.
just install the same equipment wherever it was before, I don't know.
This deals with removing of the existing card terminal, installation of the new terminal supplied by Ascent Aviation, connection to the existing pulsers, valves, power, conduit, and wiring, and supply limited electrical conduit fittings at the terminal if needed.
You happy with this, Bill?
Yes.
We need a motion.
Oh, okay.
Connie makes the motion and Jim seconded it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So, now what's this next one?
Okay, the next one. Bear with me here just a second.
This is a approval requesting U.S. Department of Transportation. That ought to be good.
This is
With the airplane.
I have a 5-year-old home, I think like a flight.
taking turns passing it around.
Oh, boy.
To read.
This is the,
Yeah.
ironically, that's one place that had a pretty good summary, everything in one spot.
I agreed my taxes this year.
Let me step away from the agenda item here for a minute and kind of give you a sense of where this is, where this has gone, how this developed. We expected one EAS proposal to come in from Pan Am, Boston Main Airways Corporation, and it did. There was one that was received from Watertown, Ogdensburg, Messina, providing service to Albany, at a cost of over $5 million compared to Big Sky's just under $2 million for the whole student marriage. USDOT basically has 5 criteria to evaluate this one bid. Specifically what they look at service reliability, and for the benefit of the press, I should cite what it is. It's 49 USC 41733, Section C, number 1. There are 5 criteria: service reliability, contract and marketing arrangements with a carrier at the larger hub, interline arrangements with the larger carrier at the hub. This is like co-sharing agreement. Are they Delta? Are they U.S. Air? So on and so forth. Community views. This is where the authority comes into play. And subsidy requirements, cost. In performing an extensive review on the Pan Am RFP response, in light of those criteria, let's take each one in its own turn. Service reliability. Pan Am's record in New York State, particularly Elmira, has issues. And again, you can see some of the history on that, and I'll let that speak for itself. The contractual and marketing arrangements with the carrier at the larger hub, Pan Am, does not have contractual and marketing arrangements with another carrier at the larger hub. This is a USDOT requirement bidding. The interline arrangements, the co-sharing agreement, are they U.S. Air, are they Delta, are they JetBlue? Pan Am does not have an interline arrangement with any carrier. Again, this is a significant USDOT requirement bidding. Community views, input including the authority. Messina and Watertown have expressed in the meeting that we had, the North Country Airport officials meeting, where we had Watertown, Ogdensburg, Messina, Saranac Lake, Plattsburgh on site, have expressed a desire to not have this carrier based on the history and lack of interline service. And I have to recommend that Ogdensburg take the same position on this issue. The cost, obviously the cost is something that USDOT will look at. It appears to be unreasonable given past EAS contracts. And the non-quantifiable aspect to Pan Am, again, this is more or less my opinion. When we have talked to multiple carriers for quoting service to Ogdensburg, either in the format of charter service or in the format of EAS for a potential bid, these individuals seem to have a similar feeling to Big Sky, but without the positive track record that Big Sky came to the table with originally. That's concerning. And basically, given these factors, I recommend the authority request that the USDOT place this essential air service back out to bid on this basis, even though it may mean that there's a longer delay until air service resumes. Because this is the right decision for Ogdensburg passengers. They deserve better service under EAS than what is being proposed by Pan Am at the present time. And additional time should bring the ability to have additional carriers come to the table with a code-sharing agreement. Because again, airports are all about connectivity. You need to get from A to B to C. Pan Am will definitely get you A to B. It pains me to say this because Albany is a destination that seems to be a lot of folks like. But combination of the numbers not working and the other criteria that we outlined, my recommendation to the board is that we request the U.S. Department of Transportation to place this back out to bid.
How will that ensure, or how do we have any peace of mind that anyone else will be interested in this?
That's a good question. One of the key problems here on the expedited time frame is if you don't have a co-sharing agreement, there really isn't enough time to negotiate one in the interim. With additional time, you may get additional carriers at the table. You may not. In deference to Pan Am, they would have the option to resubmit the same proposal that they submitted previously.
How does that task force feel about this, the task force that's been working so hard?
St. Lawrence Valley Air Task Force, again, and this is for the press, comment would be appropriately directed to them, but they are also opposed to the Pan Am proposal.
Do they see anyone coming to the table? Are they actively working on
Not at this point.
You know, one of the things I talking to Wade about, if I fly from here to Albany where I want to go, to get on Southwest or American or United, okay, I've got to get off this plane, go out of the airport,
Get your baggage.
then go back through all of that again to go through security. And, you know, I mean, we want service here for our people. That's the word, service. I don't want a disaster, because if I would have flew from here to Albany and had to do that, I'd have been back here asking him if he wanted his haircut, and it wouldn't have been with a clipper. Because, you know, I know what that is when you go outside of an airport. And then have to go back through that again. Like you said, get your baggage and do all that. We're not interested in that. We're interested in airlines that can connect with the Southwest and the rest of them. We can buy a ticket from him going directly to Delta or the Southwest or United and hit Albany and go. That's what I want. I mean, that's what we had here for years. It's that kind of a thing. Even when we had...
You don't have interconnectivity. To be quite honest, you're not saving any more time than if you got in your car and drove, and that's the whole point. Trying to save time.
It would be, with accepting Pan Am, would be causing the traveling public
But when Mohawk Airlines used to be here, we didn't have this kind of...
Well, and I think, too, the other thing is a lot of people book now, you book on the internet or something, you're saying Ogdensburg to Daytona Beach or whatever. Well, they're going to say Ogdensburg doesn't show up because you can't connect.
There you go.
You're going to end up going, so you're going to lose a lot of that business, too, through this.
Doesn't the price get higher, though?
The price will get crazily high.
Oh, absolutely, because you
don't
have to buy
that in.
you have to buy 2 tickets.
Without connectivity, you won't get anybody booking those flights because there's no connection.
What prevents US DOT from just canceling essential air service up here?
That's
And why?
Not a thing, I don't think.
their call. And this might be where it's headed.
We're a party at the table, but the contract is between a carrier and USDOT. So the
It's like when they go to the market and can't find somebody to serve that purpose.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that they can't find that people, even with the subsidy, they can't turn a profit on this. No one's going to come up here if they can't generate revenue.
Correct.
At the minimum, it would have to be a service that's already connected with one of the major players, out of your Syracuse or your own. That's the problem.
Well, and to me, it just doesn't make sense. If I want to go west, I don't want to fly to Boston. You know, send me to Cleveland or Pittsburgh if I want to go west. If I want to go east or south, well then, yeah, maybe Boston's okay, but I just don't foresee it working.
The tie-in I remember when I flew out of the Messina Airport was with US Air.
Right, Syracuse.
But where it saved money was I was going US Air. But if I went US Air Delta, the prices got absorbent. It was cheaper to drive to Syracuse and get Delta.
Well, I still think it's that way. There's no one, to me, there just doesn't seem to be an incentive to fly out of Messina route.
I didn't know what the last
You've got to have that interline agreement, or you're exactly right. There is no.
I mean, it's easier for me to travel to Syracuse.
We have an airlines now that's opened up in Plattsburgh, flying certain days of the week to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa. I don't know I don't know how big the planes are, but Wade says we can't get them in here. We don't have a long enough runway. Neither does Messina. But Plattsburgh, I guess, has got the Air Force Base, so they can land 2 or 3 of them. They got that long runway. And I don't know what's going to happen to us here. So the executive director is making a recommendation that
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. It's into that one. What do we got now?
That concludes regular business for the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority. Now it would probably be appropriate to be the Ogdensburg Border Station.
We got to come back to this though, because we got to go on the deck. Yeah, we got to. I won't be back until February 9th. When is our next meeting?
Okay. Do you want to do it the week after that?
Please.
12. 12.
Yeah, that'd be a good date.
It's Valentine's Day.
Isn't it?
Close to it.
We're a little more cookies.
Your Rector County Valentine's Day, is it?
You're probably changing
Jealous.
this one.
I'll have a conflict, Fred, but I'll be here for the early part of the meeting, but have to leave.
Well, our meeting may be over. I'll look at the agenda the next time.
I would need the plane flight to get to where I want to be, but I'll get there by 6:30 though. Good luck.
As long as you fly us here.
We don't have to-
But there is an executive session that's needed for Region Port Authority.
Okay, we're going to,
We have to go to the border station.
right, I'm going to adjourn the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority meeting and go into,
We have a motion.
Border
we
State.
have a motion to adjourn
I
the
also move.
Bridge and Port Authority meeting. Is a motion made by Connie, seconded by Don. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. And now we will go into the Ogdensburg Border Station Annual Board Meeting, Tuesday, January 15, 2008. You want to wait 2 minutes? Is that what you're telling me, girls? I knew that too, and I forgot.
Not if you don't want to, boys.
Get it from all angles. I don't like that.
How's it feel?
Come for me, Bill.
How's it feel, bud?
That ranks right up with him trying to get a new piece of equipment out of Mary. Wants that big loader, she won't let him have it.
You know, we've been telling Bill to order that loader for I don't know how long.
In the budget last year.
In your handbook, I'm not authorized to sign anything for $108,000.
You ready, girl?
Probably hasn't read the hand.
No. Ready, gals?
I didn't sign any paper.
At the last town meeting, John.
I knew it was a trouble, but not this bad.
He said,
Oh, this ain't nothing yet, Fred.
I can see that.
I know how I can spend it. Great.
Again, my apologies, I didn't order dinner, I figured we'd be an hour and a half max, so,
See that, Jim? That was our rationale.
based on prior.
Yeah.
Why we
Next
had
time you
dinner,
do
and I
sprocket
remember
or
we
something
were.
like that, you're gonna have that in your back.
We made
Nobody's
sure it was
flying
difficult
parts
just to prove
anymore.
we should have ordered dinner, see?
Okay, we're going
We're
into,
not ready. We've never done 2 meetings, so, sorry.
We did. Look at the passport.
Can we just turn the camera on and we'll sort it out afterwards, please?
I don't know if they can, right?
no, we can wait. Jim, did you know they're gonna make the next phase of that windmill? They got a company that builds the concrete, has to build a concrete plant.
On which one?
Coming up.
Yeah, but there's still a lot coming up.
You know,